Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new episode of NASCAR Heat 3 Career Mode. Immediately we're going to start it off with a quick recap of Hailie Deegan's final regular season race here in Bristol. She started P11, so it was a pretty solid start for her as John Hunter Nemechek, he started on the pole and drove away fairly quickly in this race as he tried to hold off the pack, but Hailie used the inside line to her advantage as she usually does in these races and worked her way into the top 10 on the first lap, and about halfway through this run she would eventually work her way towards the top 5 as she came to about 10-ish laps ago, got up to P6, passing Johnny Sauter for P5, attempting a bit of a slide job move as she slid up right in front of him, crossing the line, and she really didn't gain anything from here on out as we came towards the last lap in this race. She was still in P6, battling for P5 with Johnny Sauter as they went into turns 1 and 2. She actually made contact with Sauter, and he ended up going into the wall as she came out of turn 2, which put her into the 5th position as she would come through turns 3 and 4 for the final time behind the 24 of Justin Haley. Hailie Deegan would round out the regular season with a 5th place finish in Bristol, so certainly a pretty solid finish to end things considering how we started this season. And if she did not get that win in Chicago, we would not have made the playoffs. But fortunately, Hailie did get the one win here in the regular season to put herself and our team in the playoffs, as we will look at Canada as the first playoff race in the next episode. But now it's time to shift focus towards the playoffs for myself in the Cup Series as we're getting ready to compete in the playoffs for the first time in our Cup Series career. Obviously, this just being our rookie season, we will be a rookie to compete for a championship, which is pretty cool. But before we kick things off, we're going to get a quick regular season recap from Jay.
The regular season is over and it's time to start the playoffs. Trevor Bayne started off the season winning his second Daytona 500, Daniel Suarez earned his first win in Phoenix, and Paul Menard won in Texas, putting those three drivers unexpectedly in the playoffs. Kevin Harvick dominated the regular season. He earned 5 wins and 45 playoff points, both the most of any driver this season, putting him well above the cut line and making him a clear favorite to make the championship 4. Kyle Busch surprisingly went winless this season, putting him a ways down in the playoff bracket after finishing second in the regular season standings. Gary Owen came into the Cup Series, taking over the 42 this season. He comes into the playoffs with 2 wins and sitting 17 points above the cut line. He said, "Even though I'm in third in the bracket, 17 points above is not safe at all, and it's going to get even closer as the rounds progress." Owen is trying to get the 42 a championship before Kyle Larson takes over next season. Another notable favorite coming into the playoffs is Joey Logano, who also has multiple wins and looks to be strong coming into the playoffs. Now it's time to go playoff racing.
All right, there you have the playoff and regular season recap from Jay. Thank you, Jay, for doing that, and hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Now you see the playoff standings on your screen. Kevin Harvick, 45 points to the good over the cut line. He is clearly the favorite coming into these playoffs. Joey Logano, second place, 24 ahead, so really he's not even the safest. We sit P3, 17 ahead, and Chase Elliott is the last car in. You don't see it on the screen because it's cut off, but he is the last car in. I think it's about 5 or 6 points out. Coming into Las Vegas is Eric Almirola. It's P15, the last car to squeak his way into the playoffs over Eric Jones. And as we come to our qualifying attempt, we made it to the second session of the qualifying here in Las Vegas as we come through turns 3 and 4 to complete our qualifying attempt. As we come through the tri-oval, I believe we've got Kyle Busch up ahead as we come across the line. We set a 30.883, which isn't great as it will start us in the 13th starting position for Las Vegas in this first race of the playoffs.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Las Vegas Motor Speedway for today's running of the South Point 400. Today marks the beginning of the 10-race Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series playoffs. After a knockdown, drag-out regular season, only 16 drivers still have a shot at NASCAR's greatest prize. The final road to glory starts here at this 1.5-mile tri-oval located just 15 miles north of the Vegas Strip. So, grab a chair and we'll deal you in. It's time for NASCAR playoff racing on PRN.
All right, we are ready to get going here in Las Vegas. Kevin Harvick starts on the pole. AJ Allmendinger sent to the back after failing technical inspection. David Reagan crashed during qualifying, so he's in a backup car. And Kyle Busch, a playoff contender, had an engine change after qualifying. He will be starting in the back, and that could be a big issue for him if he misses out on stage points as we get ready to go green. And the green flag is out, and the playoffs are underway finally, starting in P12 behind the 24 of the rookie William Byron as we cross the line. Kevin Harvick will lead us into turn 1 now with his teammate of Clint Boyer on his outside. No, that's Eric Almirola, sorry, as we come through turns 1 and 2 on the outside of Eric Jones in the 20 car. Almirola, he's in a position to where he barely squeaked into the playoffs, but I think he really could be a contender here when we get late into the playoffs. I think he can progress his way through pretty well as we use that outside line early on to gain a bunch of positions right up towards the wall. Now passing the 78 of Truex, approaching a top 10 position here as we cross the line to complete the first lap on the outside in a 3 wide with Joey Logano coming through turns 1 and 2, just trying to get up closer to that wall and get the momentum off of the corner. And this is really the only time you can use the outside is on restarts as we get very close with the 11 and tap the wall. A little bit of contact, certainly not really much of a factor as we didn't get any damage, but we did lose a few positions from it as we have a big run and we get to the back of the 11 already, pushing him through the exit of turn 4, but he hangs on to it fortunately as we come across the line right here to complete the second lap. Certainly a very interesting start to this race as we sit P14 alongside the 19 of Suarez as we go into turn 1, and Eric Almirola has dropped very fast. He has dropped from 2nd to 12th as now we look to the inside of him to make a pass on him as we push the 19 of Suarez down the back straightaway going into turn 3. We work our way back up to 13th ahead of Almirola now on the inside of Daniel Suarez in turn 3. Daniel Suarez is a playoff contender after winning an ISM Raceway. We had 3 surprise winners, and if they wouldn't have won, it would have been a very different playoff picture maybe. Now as we come into turn 1 on lap 5, looking to the inside of the 24 car of William Byron as we come through turns 1 and 2, getting a pretty solid center of the corner and exit now as we come out of turn 2. And the outside line at this point really wasn't working now that everyone's kind of got more organized as we come into turns 3. The 2 Penske drivers of Blaney and Brad Keselowski battle side by side as we just tap the 12 in the back bumper just a little bit as we come out of turn 4 now, looking to make it 3 wide with Blaney and Keselowski as we cross the line to get ourselves back into the top 10 finally, up to P9 ahead of the 12 and the 2 right on the back bumper of the 78 of Truex as we go into turn 1, and he has Chase Elliott in the 9 car just ahead of him, who's the last seed right now in the playoffs as he got no playoff points in the regular season, but I really think he's going to be a strong contender for this championship now as we run on the inside of Kurt Busch, trying to take P7 away from him with Joey Logano on our back bumper as we come out of turn 4 side by side with the 41. As we cross the line, we get a caution, and I'm not sure what caused the caution as I couldn't find anything in the replay after the race, but either way we're going to be restarting on the inside as no one's pitting, so I don't pit either. It's Kevin Harvick is about to lead us with just a handful of laps to go when we get going here in stage 1 now, as the green flag once again is out. It's going to be 9 laps to the end of the stage right on the back bumper of Chase Elliott in the 9 car. Don't want to make it 3 wide right now. It's a little too early to do that as we give him a bump into turn 1 now on the inside of Eric Jones, who just missed out on the last spot getting into this playoff, unfortunately for him. As we come through turns 1 and 2 on the exit, Harvick is in command right now, clear of the 21 of Paul Menard, who really shouldn't be in the playoffs, but right now he's proving like maybe he deserves to be in the playoffs as he sits P2 behind Kevin Harvick, just ahead of Elliott and Boyer and myself as we round out the top 5 now ahead of Eric Jones as we come across the line to hit 8 to go in the stage. Now looking to the inside of Boyer, right on the back bumper once again to Chase Elliott as we go into turn 1. Boyer, certainly we've had a few run-ins with him late in this season so far, but we're going to try and race him as clean as possible as we don't want any rivals, like I've said all season. We don't need any, especially when it comes to playoff time. We don't need a rival that we have to deal with, as otherwise that's going to be a big role as we've seen in the Xfinity Series last season for myself. Obviously, we got pretty much taken out of a chance at a championship because of a rival in the Xfinity Series, but as we come to 2 to go, Clint Boyer was able to get back to my inside as we did pass him for a brief moment, but he was able to drive right on by me as we went a little wide into turns 1 and 2, and on the exit of 2, we do close up on him down the back straightaway, but Paul Menard is trying his best up there, as you can see, to maybe steal a stage victory away from Kevin Harvick, who has dominated this entire season. Really should have like 8-9 wins by now, but he gave a few away, unfortunately for him. Fortunate for us, as we don't need him winning any more races as we take the white flag now in stage 1. Certainly the top 5 cars are kind of in an island of their own. Really, the top 3 cars are way up there, and then it's myself and Clint Boyer, and then 6 on back is still about 7 to 8 tenths behind as we come down the back straightaway for the final time in stage 1. Kevin Harvick looking like he's going to hang on to a stage victory as we come through turns 3 and 4 for the final time. On the exit of turn 4, Kevin Harvick will hold off Paul Menard and Chase Elliott to win the first stage of the playoffs, and we will get P5 to round out stage 1. Certainly a solid finish for us to start the playoffs in the first stage, exactly what we need to be doing. Our teammate Jamie McMurray gets P10, the last stage point. And we decided we're going to take 4 tires, 2 cans of fuel, and a slight repair to the car as we've gotten in the back of a few cars. That adds a second to my pit stop time. We lose 2 positions. Kyle Busch, who started in the back, is going to pull off a gamble, and I think he either stayed out or took 2 tires, and he will lead the field to the green now as we start stage 2 from P7 as we lost another position from repairing the car to Denny Hamlin right on the back bumper of Clint Boyer, pushing him way up the track. I don't know why he went so high, but I tried to follow him up there because I didn't want to be very ambitious to make a 3-wide move early on here in the stage, and certainly slowed my momentum up a little bit. But now down the back straightaway, we are alongside the 11 of Denny Hamlin right on his left door as we go into turns 3. Kyle Busch leads the field into turns 3 and 4 as we slide way up the track, allowing the 78 of Martin Truex Jr. to take myself and Hamlin 3 wide as we're in the middle of a 3 wide to complete the first lap of stage 2 as Kyle Busch continues to lead, almost making contact with the 78 now as we approach turn 1 behind the 9 of Chase Elliott as Kevin Harvick is on the outside line, starting to fall backwards as Paul Menard pushes through to take second place, and now it looks like Clint Boyer, Elliott, and Harvick are going to go 3 wide down the back straightaway as we approach turn 3 now, as Harvick is going to be way wide and he's going to lose a lot of ground now alongside with me as we come through turns 3 and 4. Now we're once again in the middle of a 3 wide with Harvick and my teammate Jamie McMurray as we cross the line. 3 wides is not what I want to be in right now, especially in the middle line, but we make it work as we fall into line behind our teammate McMurray into turns 1 now as Paul Menard is taking the lead from Kyle Busch on down the back straightaway as Kevin Harvick continues to drift back. Certainly not looking good for him, but he can afford to really have a couple bad finishes and still advance easily into the next round of the playoffs as Kyle Busch starts to fall back, and our teammate Jamie McMurray, he's continuing to push his way forward as Paul Menard comes through to lead the lap, certainly proving that maybe he just does deserve to be in this playoff after getting a surprise win earlier in the season in Texas, and he really hasn't shown up since then, but he's showing up now at the right time as we come out of turn 2, passing Kyle Busch to take P4 down the back straightaway. But Paul Menard is going to lose the lead, it looks like, to Martin Truex Jr. as we go into turn 3 with Jamie McMurray, our teammate, right on Truex's bumper. Kyle Busch now on my bumper as we come out of turn 4, but Menard now starts to fall down to P3 as we get a good run down the straightaway. But by the time we come to lap 11, you see our teammate McMurray fell to 3rd. Menard got back up to 2nd, right behind the leader of Truex as we come out of turn 2. Certainly a big run on the exit of 2 to get to the inside of our teammate McMurray. And the rumor has it that this could very well be McMurray's last season, as we might be the driver to replace him at the end of this season, as Kyle Larson will be returning to this 42 car, and I really want to get this 42 a championship before Kyle Larson returns to full-time action after taking a leave of absence to go World of Outlaws racing this season. Now as Menard looks to the inside briefly of Truex, but Truex closes the door on him as McMurray tries to get a run back on my outside, but he now has the 22 of Joey Logano on his inside, trying to work his way back towards the top 3. Now as we come to lap 15 of 17, you see Menard was able to get ahead of Truex as we battle side by side with the 78 going into turns 3, trying to be really careful, very close to that white line as we briefly touched the apron just a little bit, and it unsettled the car just a tiny bit as we lost a small amount of speed as we come across the line to take 2 to go in stage 2. Menard is out of here right now as we come into turns 1, trying to pull ahead of the 78 of Truex, but he does not want to let go of his position, and I do not blame him. Obviously, this is the playoffs. We don't expect to get get raced very easily as we come down the back straightaway, trying to side draft the 78 as we go into turns 3. Chase Elliott and the 9 Napa Camaro on my back bumper, hoping he can maybe stay behind me and not try to force it 3 wide as we come out of turn 4 to take the white flag in stage 2. This time Menard leads and looking like he's going to get an extra 10 points and a playoff point if it continues like this as we come through turns 1 and 2 for the final time in the stage. We drift up the track along the 9 of Chase Elliott to get to my inside. He's going to force the 3 wide as we're once again in the middle of a 3 wide down the back straightaway as Truex clears me, thankfully keeping it 2 wide now as we go into turns 3 and 4 for the final time in the stage, alongside with the 9 of Chase Elliott through the final corners as we push a little wide, trying to get too much out of it. But out of turn 4, Paul Menard is going to win the stage, and we're going to lose P3 to Chase Elliott at the last moment to get P4 in stage 2. And Kyle Busch got the last stage point in this stage, so that could maybe help him in the long run as he starts down the orders. We took 4 tires in this pit stop, and we fell back 14 positions. I could not take 2 tires. I knew that if I took 2 tires, we were going to pay for it. We're already struggling on the long run, really, to hang with the front runners, even on the same tires. If I took 2 tires, there's no way we were going to be a contender, so I had to take 4 and give up positions. We fell back to P18 to start stage 3 behind the 41 of Kurt Busch, but I think in the long run that this is going to be a beneficial call to take 4 tires as we come through turns 1 and 2. Obviously, if we get into some trouble, then we're going to regret making this call. But if we stay out of trouble, we should be okay as we come down the back straightaway behind the 41 and the 43 of Kurt Busch, and Bubba Wallace is coming into turns 3 and 4, going to the outside line, trying to get that momentum out of the corner, as I know we can use that outside line to our advantage on the restarts. And we immediately look to the outside of Kurt Busch as we cross the line to hit 24 to go in this race. Certainly not a lot of time left in this final stage as Paul Menard continues to lead this race just ahead of Chase Elliott in the 9 car, and our teammate Jamie McMurray sets P3 as Bubba Wallace takes Blaney and Bowman 3 wide down the straightaway as we come into turn 3 behind Bowman. He's not a playoff contender, unfortunately for him, but Ryan Blaney is, so it's at least we have some more playoff contenders running not very good back here with me as we get into the back of Bowman, and into the wall we go as we make more contact with the 17 of Stenhouse now as Kurt Busch gets into my left rear. Certainly a dramatic moment, but we keep the car out of trouble as we fall back to P20, so not what we needed, but we at least get no damage from that and maintain in the top 20 just about as we come out of turn 2, giving the 31 of Newman a big shove down the straightaway on the inside of AJ Allmendinger, once again in the middle of a 3 wide as we come into turns 3 on the right hand side of Kurt Busch, now clearing Allmendinger as we come out of turn 4, still alongside now the 31 of Ryan Newman as we come across the line, slowly starting to work our way forward with 22 laps to go, and we need to try our best to at least get a top 10 in this race as we approach the back bumper of the 17 and the 88 once again of Stenhouse and Bowman. And out of turn 2, we get a very large run on the back of the 17 and the 88 down the back straightaway, and I immediately took them 3 wide as Bowman does get clear, so it's just 2 wide now as we go into turn 3 on the inside of the 17, and we were able to get ahead of him, and we continue to work our way slowly forward now as we look to the inside of the 88, and we're able to make a move past him as well. Certainly having a much stronger effort now after our first few laps were pretty dramatic in this stage as we get to the inside of Bubba Wallace, and we're able to get ahead of him now as we get past him, coming towards lap 51 at this point now, and up ahead we have smoke and we got a spinner. It's the 78 of Martin Truex Jr., a playoff contender who came into this race 14 points to the good, and he is in the wall and out of this race, and no caution comes out. Surprisingly now, P12 behind the 19 of Suarez, who sits 11th, and Martin Truex Jr. is not safe on points, and this very well could put him in a bad position in the playoffs as he is out of this race without a caution, which I don't know why the caution didn't come out, but it's NASCAR Heat 3, so I wasn't really surprised. Now as we hit 10 laps to go in this race, running P11, trying to run down the guys ahead of me, just slowly closing in on them as we come out of turn 2, and there's a caution finally. Certainly I don't think it had to do with Truex as he was out, but I couldn't find what caused this caution either, but either way, Truex's hopes are really in jeopardy now as we're going to be going green from the 11th starting position behind Denny Hamlin with not many laps to go, probably 7 or 8 to go as we get ready to go green. And And we're going to be pretty aggressive on this restart now as the green flag is out. Clint Boyer will lead us to the green with just 7 laps to go, and immediately I look to the inside of Denny Hamlin, trying to take him 3 wide as we gain a position or two as we look into the inside of the 48 as we have 3 wide situations already going on as our teammate Jamie McMurray, terrible restart for him as he drifts back pretty quickly as he looks to the outside of Harvick, 3 wide just in front of me down the back straightaway now as William Byron moves up to P2 behind the leader of Clint Boyer. Byron hasn't had a great season, and now he looks for his first career win in Las Vegas as we are 3 wide with Johnson, and our teammate Jamie McMurray has come out of turn 4 coming across the line. We've had so many 3 wide situations in this race, which is pretty interesting to say the least. We haven't had that much this season, even at the mile and a halves, but it certainly made for some interesting, exciting racing as we still sit 3 wide with the 48 and the 1 at the turn 2, but we finally get ahead of Johnson. But our teammate McMurray, he's going to hang alongside, and he's really not held back from battling me hard enough in this race now as we come through turns 3 and 4, still side by side with him through the center, now onto the exit of the corner as Chase Elliott and Kevin Harvick just up ahead of me battle side by side as we cross the line to hit 5 to go in this race. And really the rest of this race, or the rest of this last little run to the finish of this race, was just a long hard battle with our teammate Jamie McMurray as he pulls ahead for a moment, but we look to his inside down the back straightaway and we just could not get away from each other in these last few laps of this race, and it was kind of a little bit aggravating dealing with him, not a playoff driver, a teammate running me as hard as he was, but at the same time I couldn't blame him as we come out of turn 4 to hit 4 laps to go at the line. And by the time we come to 2 to go, the same situation, still battling side by side with our teammate Jamie McMurray as we come into turns 1, and Elliott and Harvick still battle side by side as we just, none of these guys can get away from each other now as we push up the track, allowing the 48 of Jimmy Johnson to get to my inside in a 3 wide situation down the back straightaway as we side drafted the 1 car of McMurray going into turn 3, clear of the 48 now as we will be taking the white flag this time by Clint Boyer. Still leads over 2nd place William Byron and 3rd place Paul Menard as we're side by side with our teammate McMurray to take the white flag. We just can't get away from this guy now as the white flag is out as we go into turns 1 and 2 for the final time, just trying to edge ahead of McMurray, and I'm going to push a little harder trying to get ahead of him as we push up the track, just barely clearing myself off of him now as we come down the back straightaway for the final time behind the 4 of Kevin Harvick. Closing up a little bit now as we come into turns 3 for the final time here in Las Vegas, the first race of the playoffs. Now as we push wide on the exit of turn 4, and that's going to allow our teammate McMurray to my inside as we come out of turn 4. Coming to the line, it's going to be neck and neck as McMurray edges me out for P7 in Las Vegas as Clint Boyer wins in Vegas and locks himself into the round of 12 now as he does not have to worry for the next 2 races at Richmond and the Charlotte Roval. And as we sit P8, certainly a good finish, and this will certainly help us out in the playoff standings, and we're going to need help as Martin Truex Jr. finishes dead last, 17 laps down, but we're going to be needing some help because Richmond is a very hard track on me, and I know we're not going to run good in Michigan at all. We're probably going to suck there, but there's the playoff grid now. Trevor Bayne, 23 points out, your last car. Almirola 18 out, 15th place, Suarez 3 out, and look at Martin Truex Jr., the last car out right now, or the first car out behind the last car in, Kyle Busch. So they're tied right now. Certainly 2 drivers you do not expect to see that far down the playoff cutoff or the playoff grid as Chase Elliott, he propelled his way up from last in the playoff standings to all the way, I think, in 5th or 6th. So certainly a good start to the playoffs for the 9 car of Chase Elliott, and as well as the 21 car of Paul Menard. So certainly interesting playoff situation we have going in to Richmond. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out for these next 2 races at Richmond and the Roval. But next episode we will have a recap of Hailie Deegan's first playoff race in Canada, which is a home track for me, so hopefully she can perform well there for really a home track for this team. And there's the playoff grid for Hailie Deegan. She will start the playoffs 5 points out, so we're going to have some work to do to get her into the next round. But we sit 30 points to the good, and we're going to need those 30 points for Richmond. So if you guys enjoyed, make sure to comment, like, subscribe. Those would all be very appreciated. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to watch one of my videos, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Thank you for watching, everybody, and have a good day, and see you guys for the next playoff race.